It's afternoon, and someone may see this, and someone may learn something. And then again, nobody may see this. And if they don't, I at least will have learned something. I sure will. I've been preaching for a few years now, and I have preached every year that Jesus of Nazareth is the Son of the living God. And that's it. This Son of the living God, a descendant of David, was born to be a king. At the present time, he is not a king. He will be the king when his Father puts him on the throne that he was born to sit on. As of today, he does not sit on that throne. And he's going to have some men that are under him that will sit in positions of authority and judge the 12 tribes of Israel. There will be others that have authority, and those who have authority over the nations will not worry about what's going on with the 12 tribes of Israel, because there are going to be many nations on the earth for quite some time. And those who inherit the earth will be on the earth forever. Jesus said, "The meek shall inherit the earth." And if people would read, they can see that God can give land to whosoever he chooses. And the first man that God promised land to, God changed his name from Abram to Abraham. So Abraham was promised something by God. And since God makes good on all his promises, Abraham will have the land. And Abraham will be with the Son of God, whom God raised from the dead, for quite a few years. I feel confident that Abraham will get to be with Jesus, the Son of God, and be on the earth for years before God himself comes to the earth to be with his children. I believe God is happy to be seated where he is at the present time, because from his vantage point, he rules. Yep. And he's fixing to put a king on a throne, just like he had put kings on a throne before. And if you want to know what these kings could do, then you need to read the book called Bible. No one has more authority than a king. And the kings used to go to battle. And if they wanted to take over another king's land, they killed the king. That's how it worked. But anyway, God's going to put his son over the land on the throne of David. And he will rule the kingdom that will not have an end. And I really like that idea. I really do. But what I want to help some people understand here today is that I have read the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, at least a number of times. And that's enough, to get a real good idea about God and Jesus and some other things. I mean, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You can call them 4 books within a book. And if you would just read those, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you would find out that Jesus never told anyone of his disciples that they needed to ask him to come into their heart. And if you will read after Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts, Romans, and on after that, you never see any of his disciples telling anyone that they needed to ask Jesus to come into their heart. It's not there. And I'm sure that may come as a shock to some of you. But Jesus said, if you obey me, then you will be wise. And that does not mean ask Jesus to come into your heart and then ask him to tell you what to do so you can obey him. That's not how it works. Jesus wants us to understand that it is our Father in heaven who can supply all of our needs and give us what we want. And Jesus never said once to one of his disciples or taught them that as soon as I get to heaven, just ask me for whatever you want and I'll do it for you. No. He told them what they needed to do, and that was to do their Father's will. So if you want to do what Jesus, commanded you to do, then I must tell you that you can pray to your Father in heaven and get from him what you need and do what your Father in heaven wants you to do. And please don't worry about what Jesus wants you to do. Because right here today, I am telling you, Jesus wants you to do our Father's will. And Jesus is in the our part there. Jesus and I have the same Father. And I will do my Father's will. I'm having some doubts that some people are understanding what Jesus said for people to do. I really do. I think somebody has confused a lot of people. And I hope this video can do something, to help you through the confusion. Jesus does not want you to ask him to come into your heart to guide you. He never has wanted that. God is merciful. Our Father in heaven is merciful. And I am so glad he is. Because if he wasn't, people would not have a chance at all. You talk about a no chance people. If God was not merciful, I don't think we would have a chance. Nope, I sure don't. So I'm going to end this video with these words. Do what Jesus instructed his disciples to do. You don't have to you don't have to ask Jesus to come into your heart and guide you. That's not what Jesus said. That's not. Jesus did say what would come into your heart and guide you. I would suggest that you get from your Father what you need and let your Father guide you just like he guides me.